Welcome to Microlabs. Today's topic is to configure and verify VLAN access ports. Let's get started. Task number 1, it's to configure and correct IP addresses, subnet mask on each PC. Set the gateway address as the last usable address of the subnet. Okay, let's start configuring, starting with PC 1. So the address is den.o.o.1 and subnet mask of 255.255.255.192 because it's a /26. Okay, we're done with PC1. Well, let's double check the gateway, default gateway, which is the router's address, 10.0.0.0.62, which is good. Let's move on to PC2. Okay, under the address 10.0.0.2, and the subnet is 255.255.255.192, and the default gateway is the same, 10.0.0.62. Okay, we're done with PC2. Let's move on to PC3. PC3 is 10.0.0.65. And the subnet mask is 255.255.255.192. And the default gateway is 10.0.0.126. Okay, let's move on to PC4. And the address is 10.0.0.66. And the subnet mask is 255.255.255.192. Okay, we're done with PC4. Actually, let's check the default gateway, which is 10.0.0.126. Let's move on to PC5. Let's enter the address of 10.0.0.129, and the subnet mask is the same, 255.255.255.192. So we're done with PC5. Let's move on to the last PC, PC6, and let's enter the address of 10.0.0.130, and the subnet mask is 255.255.255.192. Let's double check the default gateway, which is 10.0.0.190, which is the last usable address of this subnet. So we are good on task number 1. Let's move on to task number 2. Make 3 connections between R1 and switch 1. Configure one interface on R1 for each VLAN. Make sure the IP addresses are the gateway address you configured on the PCs. Okay. So first, it wants us to make 3 connections from switch 1 to router 1. Although I already did the connections here, but I'll just briefly show you how it was done. The connection from switch 1 to router 1. So all 3 connections from switch 1 to router 1 uses copper straight through. All 3 connections are copper straight through. So you just click on a copper straight through, and you connect from G01 from switch 1 to G00 on router 1, and copper straight through G11 to G01, and copper straight through you connect G21 to G02. And there you have it. That's how you connect. That's how you make the 3 connections between R1 and switch 1. Now it wants us to configure one interface on R1 for each VLAN. And we have to make sure that the IP address or the gateway address we configure on the PCs. Okay, so let's start by configuring G00, and then we'll do G01 and G02. Let's go on the router. Open up the router. Okay, we gotta enable it. Enable. We're in privilege mode. We go to conf-d, configure terminal. Then we gotta enter the interface. Interface gigabit 0/0, and the IP address of n.0.0.62, which is the default gateway. And subnet mask of 255.255.255.192. We enter, and then we issue the command no shut. Okay. Now we configured the G00, so let's move on to interface G01. So interface G01 IP address of 10.0.0.126. the subnet mask of 255.255.255.192 because it's a slash 26. So we enter and we issue the command no shut to bring the line up. Okay. So that was G0 interface G01. So let's move on to interface G02. We enter the IP address of 10.0.0.190.255.255.255.192. Enter. No shut. And there we go. I think we completed our task number 2. So it says to we made the 3 connections. We configured the interface on R1 for each VLAN, and we make sure that the address we gave was the same one we configured on the PC, which was okay. Number 3 says to configure switches interfaces in the proper VLAN. Remember the interfaces that connect to R1, and then we have to name the VLANs by engineering VLAN 10, HR VLAN 20, and sales VLAN 30. Okay, so let's start on switches 1. So we are going to configure G01, F31, and F41. So fast either 3/1, fast either 4/1, gigabit either 0/1. And that's the VLAN 10. So let's start with the switch. We gotta enable it first. Enable. And go to configure terminal. And then we have to issue the interface range G01, comma, F31, comma, and F41. Enter. And then we have to issue the command of switch port mode access. Switch port mode access. And then switch port access VLAN 10. Enter. Okay, VLAN 10 wasn't created, so it just created VLAN 10 for us. Okay, that's good. Go back to conft. Okay, so that was, now we just configured the VLAN G01, fast either 3/1, fast either 4/1. And now we are going to configure VLAN 20, which is G gigabit 1/1 and fast either 5/1 and fast either 6/1. So let's go on and configure VLAN 20. Okay, so we got to enter the interface range of G1/1, comma, F51, comma, and F61. Enter. So we have to issue the switch port mode access, and then switch port access VLAN 20. Enter. So it says VLAN 20 does not exist, but it's creating VLAN 20 for us. Okay, so I'm going to end this, come back into configure terminal, and then we're going to do the same thing. Interface range G2/1, G2/1, comma, fast either 7/1, fast 7/1, comma, and fast Ethernet 8/1, fast Ethernet 8/1. Enter. Now we have to issue the command switch port mode access, and then switch port access VLAN 30. Enter. So the VLAN 30 was not there, but it created for us as well. So all those VLANs were created from us. So it wants us to name part of our task here is just to name the VLANs from engineering, HR, and sales. Okay, so we can start by doing the VLAN 10, which is engineering. So we go and say VLAN 10, and we'll say name engineering. And then we go to VLAN 20. We'll say name HR. And then we move on to VLAN 30. And we shoot the name sales. Whoops. Name sales. Okay, so now let's end this to go and issue the show command to see what we configure. Show VLAN brief. Now let me expand this. As you can see, we created VLAN 10, 20, and 30, and we configured the VLAN 10, G01, F31, and F41, engineering for G11, F51, F61, and HR for G21, F71, and F81. And we gave the name engineering VLAN 10, HR VLAN 20, and sales VLAN 30. So I think that was number 3. That was our task number 3. We configured the switches in the proper VLANs. And then we gave the names of the VLANs. We issued the names of the VLANs. Okay, so let's move on to our last task here. It says ping between PC to check connectivity. Send a broadcast ping from a PC. Ping the subnet broadcast address and see which PC device received the broadcast. Use the packet tracer simulation mode. Okay. Let's see here. I'm going to ping from PC1. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to ping. Go to command prompt. I'm going to ping the subnet network. Ping 10.0.0.128. Ping. So we ping, this works. So let's ping, let us ping PC4. I'm going to ping PC4. So ping 10.0.0.66. So I'm pinging PC4. And then we got a reply. So we ping from here all the way to PC4. And let me ping PC5. Ping. 129, 129, ping. So I'm pinging PC5, pinging PC5. Oh, and we got a reply. So I think we completed our task. We configured the correct IP addresses, we make the connections, and we configure the VLANs, and we make sure at the same IP address as the gateway address. And then we configure the switch interface on the proper VLANs, and we issue the names, and then we ping between the subnets, and we got a reply. So we are done with the lab. That is all for now. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next micro lab. Okay?